Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lies everything that makes you human. We're witnessing something truly unprecedented in the digital age, which is the outsourcing of thinking itself. Previous theories of liberty assumed that the scaffolding of thought would be there. Democracy, in other words, is not just political, it's also biological. We lose that, we don't just become less creative. We don't just become less moral. We actually lose the capacity to be human.
It's time to introduce Dr. Nita Farahany, who is a professor at Duke Law School, but apparently she taught here for 7 years. That's what she just told me. But this, I think, is probably adapted from her book, The Battle for Your Brain, Defending Your Right to Think Freely in the Age of Neurotechnology. This is going to be a talk about not what you say, but what you think before you say it. So, Dr. Nita.
Thanks. Good morning. That's so good. You guys do much better than my students. I go into class every morning and I say good morning and they all just look at me. I'm like, no, good morning. Then you all say good morning back. I want to start this morning with a little experiment, okay? Which is the average person checks their phone every 10 minutes, okay? Every 10 minutes. Some of you are already feeling it, right? That pull. Your pocket is a little bit heavier, right? Your fingers are kind of twitching slightly. There's a phantom vibration. Some of you are actually on your phone right now. You can't even hear me while I'm describing this, right? By the end of this talk, what I'm going to guess is that the urge will hit you at least once, if not twice. And so here's my question to you, which is when you feel that pull, and you will, who is in charge? Okay? Is it you or is it the urge? I want to just challenge you for a moment to say, what if what we're losing in the digital age is not our attention? It's actually our authorship of ourselves. And that your ability to write your own story, your capacity to even think freely is eroding. We're witnessing something truly unprecedented in the digital age, which is the outsourcing of thinking itself, okay? We are handing over our thinking to algorithms that we call enhancements. But in many ways, rather than enhancements, it's eroding our capacity to be human, and we're doing it with a smile, willingly. Okay, but if our existence in digital constructs is actually something like an autoimmune disease that's attacking our very capacity to think freely, then we have a much bigger problem than when we have the ability to speak freely, if we can't even think ourselves there. The symptoms are really everywhere. It's like carbon monoxide poisoning, but it's invisible. Today, it might be visible. You can simply look around the room. We'll see how many of you can make it through 15 minutes without going to the urge. How many of you have already given up? Okay? It's everywhere if you look at it. Walk down the halls of a hospital and what you'll notice is that at least 73% of nurses and healthcare professionals are scrolling on their devices. Okay, and their phones are rewiring their basic capacities to care for you. Walk into your doctor's office and undoubtedly the first thing they'll do is take out their phone and put it on the table now to transcribe, supposedly to give you greater attention. But it's fragmenting their ability to even tap into their gut instincts, which are crucial for care. People are choosing AI relationships over real ones. They prefer entities that are designed to capture their attention rather than doing the messy, uncertain work of forming real relationships. Over the next 2 days, notice how many people fub you. What is a fub? It's a phone snub. Okay? It's when you're in a conversation with someone and they take out their phone and check it, directly rejecting you in the moment. And there's research that shows that this is eroding our capacity to relate to one another. It's eroding your relationships at home. It's undermining your relationships with your children. And it's eroding the basic relatedness that's crucial to what it means to be human. Where Stalin needed violence to invade our minds, our systems just send us notifications. Where Orwell needed telescreens in order to force installation to monitor our minds, we carry the surveillance in our pockets, and we call it convenience. Let me tell you about 2 men. Both of them are addicted to heroin. They look pretty similar, right? Both feel cravings that tear through their bodies like electrical storms. Both of them watch their lives crumble around them. From the outside, they look very similar. 2 addicts that are controlled by their drugs. But philosopher Harry Frankfurt saw a crucial difference between them. The first man feels a craving and he acts. He wants drugs, so he takes them. Desire becomes action in one reflexive moment, like a plant turning toward the sun, okay? But the second is the one that we want to be. This first one, this is our wanton, someone with a want but no will. The second man feels that same craving but does something that's uniquely human. He steps back from his desire and he thinks, I don't want to want this. I wish I could be free. I want to be someone who doesn't need heroin. This stepping back, this ability to want or not want our own desires, this is what makes us human. It's the foundation of freedom itself. Think about your own life for a minute. Okay, it's 3 a.m., your heart's breaking, the relationship ended. You got that diagnosis. You're lying next to someone who feels like a stranger. Maybe it's Sunday afternoon. You feel like that anxiety, you're in the vice grip of it. And you feel the desire to reach for your phone. Here's the question that determines your freedom. Who answers that pull? Okay, is it the part of you that wants to check or the part of you that wants something else? Are you the wanton who's collapsing desire into action? Or can you pause and say, is this actually what I want? Can I sit with the uncertainty and the discomfort of my heartbreak? Can I sit with the pain and the recognition that the person next to me is a stranger and start to work through it? Or do you numb yourself further by reaching for your phone and scrolling through your feelings? Between stimulus and response lies a space. Okay, neurologists measure this in milliseconds. Philosophers debated across centuries, but in that space lies everything that makes you human. Okay, the capacity to pause, to reflect, to choose not just what you do, but who you become. Most of us have stopped pausing. Most of us just respond to the urge. Your brain has something called the default mode network. Okay? Think of it like the backstage crew that helps actually define your identity. When you rest, when you daydream, when you do anything that gives you that pause, this is the network that weaves together your mental self-determination. It literally constructs your sense of self. Okay? The network is what lets you step back from your desires and pause, to reflect and to create that space. But here is the crucial thing. That network needs quiet, mental quiet. In the same way that your lungs need air, your brain needs space in order to be able to construct the very thoughts, the very capacity for thinking that makes you you. Okay? Working without interruption, scrolling without pause, reaching every time that you feel the urge prevents the default mode network from being able to do its job of constructing and stitching together who you are. Digital environments eliminate these windows of pause. They fragment the very network that makes human choice possible. When this network actually is working the way it's supposed to be working, there's magic that happens. Okay? That magic is when it connects to your body, okay, your center of awareness, you get interoception, the capacity to actually feel embodiment. It's not that we can't experience digital lives, it's that if we don't pause and also experience our physical bodies, our brains prioritize our digital selves and ignore our physical bodies themselves. Interoception is foundational to your capacity for autonomy. Connect it to the reward system and you get competence. Your reward is from internal motivation, not external likes and followers. Okay, you connect it with social understanding and you get genuine human connection. Neural synchrony is what you are experiencing when you sit next to other people right now in present human form. In digital environments, when there's a screen, even if it is face-to-face FaceTime, you are not experiencing the same neural synchrony and that relatedness, relational autonomy. These three things have to work together in order to build your capacity for mental self-determination. In 1958, the philosopher Isaiah Berlin gave a famous lecture at Oxford. Okay, he'd witnessed totalitarian regimes firsthand, and he understood freedom in a way that most of us never will. Berlin described two kinds of liberty. The first that he described was negative liberty. This is the freedom from interference. Okay, remove the barriers, and what happens is that people aren't censored, right? The tyrants are taken out of the way, and people are able to flourish like flowers in the sunlight. Okay, the second kind of liberty that he described is positive liberty. Positive liberty is your ability to live by your deepest values, not just by having options, but by being able to choose meaningfully among them. But Berlin feared positive liberty. Okay, he worried that if freedom meant helping people become their true selves, who gets to decide what a person's true self is? His framework served democracy incredibly well through the 20th century. It helped us be able to identify tyranny, to be able to safeguard against it. But what happens when there's another kind of liberty that is at stake before even the formation of negative and positive liberty? What happens when we enter into a digital environment that attacks capacities that both of them presume? Picture someone who is endlessly scrolling, okay? They're going through videos, short-form videos that have enabled them to be able to mindlessly be in a digital environment. By Berlin's standards, they're completely free, okay? In the sense that no government censors them, no authority controls their choices, they have perfect negative liberty. But they may also be profoundly unfree. Okay, their thinking has been so thoroughly outsourced that their own thoughts they can't even access without algorithmic help. Previous theories of liberty assumed that the scaffolding of thought would be there, that human beings had reached mental self-determination, and that what we then needed was negative and maybe positive liberty, depending on what kind of theorist you were. Okay, but cognitive liberty fills this gap. Think of it as protecting the architecture of thought itself. Think of previous theories which had focused on what happens once you have that architecture. Like, can you think different thoughts? Can you speak different thoughts? Do you have the capacity to freely speak your mind? Cognitive liberty is about the architecture itself, the neural networks, the psychological conditions that make thinking possible in the digital age. It's the right and the ability to have self-determination over your brain and mental experiences. It's more than traditional freedom of thought. Okay, it's the neurobiological conditions that make thought genuinely yours, not programmed, not the product of a manipulation, not the product of interception. It protects not what, the substance of thinking. It protects instead that you can think authentically. Human consciousness has been something unique that we understand in the known universe. We have the capacity for mental self-determination. Okay, not just intelligence or memory, computers beat us there. What makes us unique is the capacity for mental self-reflection, to look at our own desires, to reflect upon our own desires and decide whether we want them, to examine them, to examine our beliefs and decide whether we want to hold them. Okay, democracy, in other words, is not just political, it's also biological. It requires millions of nervous systems that are regulated enough, calm enough, have the space for pause and reflection sufficient to be able to be connected enough to talk to one another. We're here talking about freedom of speech, and in order to get there, you have to have a nervous system capable of engaging in authentic speech, to have a nervous system capable of engaging in empathy, curious enough for debate. But when those nervous systems are hijacked, when you cannot even have a regulated nervous system, that becomes biologically and neurologically impossible. Every theory of human flourishing until now, from Aristotle to Buddhism, from Maslow to modern psychology, assumes the foundational capacity for mental self-determination. They all require that you have the ability to step back and consciously choose your path. If we lose that, we don't just become less creative. We don't just become less moral. We actually lose the capacity to be human. We keep the appearance of choice while losing the substance of choice itself. So what do we need to do? Protecting cognitive liberty requires both defense and development. Okay? The defensive mechanism, the shield, was the subject of my first book. The Battle for Your Brain, Defending the Right to Think Freely in the Age of Neurotechnology. And this is about the defense against surveillance, the defense against mental privacy, right? To put into place a right to self-determination over your brain and mental experiences. And in that book, I advocate that we start by recognizing the international human right to cognitive liberty, which would require that we update our understanding of self-determination, mental privacy, and freedom of thought, and that trickles down through laws. The good news is that there is a lot of work that's happening in that space. Here in the US, the MIND Act was just introduced right before the government shut down. The nice thing about that is that there's federal recognition, at least, of the need to study the issue of mental privacy and start to develop some robust protections in that space. But the topic of my second book, and where this draws from, is looking at it from the developmental perspective. How do we develop self-determination over our brain and mental experiences? How do we enable the interior capabilities that rebuild sustained attention, that enable us to have intrinsic motivation, that give us the capacity to reclaim interoception, competence, and relatedness between individuals? How do we do that individually? How do we do that educationally? How do we build that into our technology? And how do we ensure that that's what we're prioritizing in the digital age? Not a world without technology, but a world in which technology is designed to foster our cognitive liberty, not to rob us of it. This isn't about forcing specific outcomes. It's about preserving the neural and social architecture that makes authentic choice possible. It's the difference between forcing people to be free, that's what Berlin feared, and ensuring that they retain the capacity for freedom at all. That's what's at stake. It's not just fractured attention. Okay? It's not just mental health consequences of being on devices. It is our ability to be human at all. Remember our experiment at the beginning of my talk? It's been 15 minutes. And how many times did you feel it? Did you feel pulled toward it? Did you succumb to it? No judgment. Just a question for you. Was it once? Was it twice? Was it more? If you felt it, if you noticed it, okay, did you pause? And then did you ask yourself Frankfurt's question, which is this the distraction that I want right now? Okay, if you did that even once, if you paused even once, if you felt it and noticed it even once, you just exercised cognitive liberty. Okay, you stepped into the space between stimulus and response. You became, for that one moment, the author of your own mind. That pause, that question, that's the revolution. Okay, not grand political moments, but learning to reclaim the pause. Thank you.